in the heart. And today verse number 34. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshtarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So Canto 2, Chapter 2, verse number 34. Bhagavān Brahma Karsnena Trir Anvikshaya Manishaya Tad Adhyavashyat Kutastho Ratir Atmanayato Bhave. Bhagavān Brahma Karsnena Trir Anvikshaya Manishaya Tad Adhyavashyat Kutastho Ratir Atmanayato Bhavet. Bhagavan Brahma Karsnena Trir Anvikshya Manishaya Tat Advaya Vashyat Kutastho Ratir Atmanab Yato Bhavet. Synonym, translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Synonyms: Bhagavan, the great personality Brahma. Brahma, the Vedas. Karsnena, by summarization. Three times. Anviksha, scrutinizingly examined. Manishaya, with scholarly attention. Tat, that. Adhyavashyat, ascertained it. Kutastaha, with concentration of the mind. Ratihi, attraction. Atman, Atmani, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead Shri Krishna. Yataha, by which, bhavet, it so happens. Translation. The great personality Brahma, with great attention and concentration of the mind, studied the Vedas 3 times, and after scrutinizingly examining them, he ascertained that attraction for the Supreme Personality of Godhead Shri Krishna is the highest perfection of religion. Purport. Shri Sukadeva Goswami is referring to the highest Vedic authority, Lord Brahma, who is the qualitative incarnation of Godhead. The Vedas were taught to Brahmaji in the beginning of the material creation. Although Brahmaji was to hear Vedic instructions directly from the personality of Godhead, in order to satisfy the inquisitiveness of all prospective students of the Vedas, Brahmaji, just like a scholar, studied the Vedas 3 times, as generally done by all scholars. He studied with great attention, concentrating on the purpose of the Vedas, and after scrutinizingly examining the whole process, he ascertained that becoming a pure, unalloyed devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Shri Krishna is the topmost perfection of all religious principles. And this is the last instruction of the Bhagavad Gita directly presented by the Personality of Godhead. The Vedic conclusion is thus accepted by all acharyas, and those who are against this conclusion are only Vedavadaratas, as explained in the Bhagavad Gita 242. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhaktivedanta purports ki jai. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet. Nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttam shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. So this verse is, I think, second verse starting to glorify the glories of devotional service. Of course, we have seen so far, and we'll see in the future, that among all the processes, the process of devotional service is the best, the easiest, and as it was mentioned in the last purport, that Jiva Goswami says it is not only easy, it is simple, natural, and free from trouble, and it is the only source of happiness for the human being. That's easy, process of Bhakti Yoga. Of course, Prabhupada also mentioned that It is, what do you say? It's uh, it's easy but simple to implement or something like that. It's easy but difficult to implement, something like that. Prabhupada said that, for a simple-minded person, Krishna consciousness is simple. For a complicated-minded person, Krishna consciousness is very complicated. Here we see also that the word Bhagavān is used for Brahmaji. Of course, in Bhagavatam also sometimes the word Bhagwan is used for great personalities like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, even Narad Muni. But of course, we understand that wherever Bhagwan refers to Lord Krishna, Prabhupada has translated like that, and he has used the capitals. Of course, here also for Brahma, because the name, the capital has been used. So, Brahmaji, as you can see, he is a double degree holder. How? Because he's the best engineer creating this material world. The 10 topics are Sarga Visarga. The second topic is Visarga, where Brahmaji is creating this material world. Secondary creation is happening. First creation, of course, is happening by the Lord himself, and the secondary creation is done by Brahmaji. So Brahmaji is the best engineer creating this material world. And here his quality, the second degree of PhD, the scholar who is the highest Vedic authority, is also described. Because as we know, Krishna spoke the Vedas in his ears, and then Brahma also spoke the Vedas. So we can see that from the previous verse, Sukadeva Goswami is directly glorifying the process of devotional service, mainly hearing and chanting, and Prabhupada also is focusing on that. So in the previous verses in this whole chapter, after describing the method of knowledge that leads to immediate liberation, and then Krama Mukti, gradual liberation. Then of course a couple of verses also describing the Karma Mishra Bhakti. Okay, whatever I work, I will give some results to Krishna. So Karma Mishra Bhakti is also described. But then in the previous verse, verse 33, Sukadeva Goswami then emphatically and finally he declares that those who are wandering in the material universe, people like us who are on the screen here, for those who are wandering in the material universe, there's no more auspicious means of deliverance. There's no more auspicious means of deliverance than what is aimed at in the direct devotional service of Lord Krishna. So yes, you get the highest benefit, but the cost is very little. The process is easy, simple, natural, and the reward is the greatest. The direct service, the direct association, the direct darshan of Lord Krishna. And Prabhupada also mentioned that direct devotional service means hearing and chanting about Krishna's glories. And Sukadeva Goswami is glorifying this process of hearing and chanting about Krishna. So here Sukadeva Goswami is also now, how in various places the certificate is given for any statement made. Krishna also, if you want to unmute and tell me, in the third chapter, Krishna speaks about another authority, and then he gives an example of even if a self-realized person has got no duty, but still they perform the duty. Does anyone remember who that personality which Krishna quotes in the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita?
King Janak Prabhu.
Yes, Janak Maharaj. So Krishna speaks about Janak Maharaj, even though he doesn't have to perform any duty, but he still performs his duty. So Sukadeva Goswami is again referring to an authority here, and he's referring to one of the great authorities, Lord Brahma, and who is reaffirming the instruction to engage directly in devotional service. So we can understand that we have been going through this process, and we understand that what is the purpose of our life. The purpose is to become happy. How can we be happy? Not just for a flickering moment, but on a long-term basis, on a permanent basis, on an eternal basis. The conclusion is again given by Krishna, as Prabhupada says here in the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. Sarv dharman parityajam mam ekam sharanam vraja. Yes, leave everything else and just come to me. Just do devotional service. Come to Krishna in his very comforting embrace and make your life perfect. Next Sunday at the temple we are going to celebrate Gita Jayanti. I think Gita Jayanti is on Monday, the 1st of December, but we are celebrating on the 30th November. So in our daily life, we should also try to study Bhagavad Gita and distribute to others too. Many times we see when devotees go out on streets, especially in India or where large Indian population is there out of India, when they go out on streets, most of the Indians will say, no, 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 no. I've got no time. I know everything. One of the excuses they say is that I know everything. So then the devotees, sometimes stop these people and ask them, so, okay, if you know everything, you've read everything, then what is the conclusion which is given by Krishna in the 19th chapter of Bhagavad Gita? That person, he just thinks for a while and, he's got no answer, but he still gives some answer just to show his knowledge. And then, the ignorance is exposed that, yes, there are not 19 chapters, there are only 18 chapters. So for us, the process of hearing and chanting includes studying carefully, as mentioned in the purport here. What does Brahmaji do? If you read this translation and purport, so first of all, Brahmaji is a great personality. So of course, he is a great personality. So we take lessons from him. His certificate is valid. He has gone through the process. Now, what process he's gone through is also mentioned in this verse. With great attention and concentration. So even when we study or even when we hear, when I was reading this verse, I was thinking this verse actually can be broken up into two parts. I mean, not this verse, but the application of this verse can be broken up into two parts. So once we discuss this, what's mentioned here about Lord Brahmaji's process, then we'll go through that also. So the Sukadeva Goswami mentions here that the great personality Brahma, so first of all, is great personality. Then he's with great attention and concentration of the mind. So he's just not only studying, he's just only reading casually, but he is studying with great attention and concentration of the mind. What is he doing? He's studying the Vedas. How many times? Not once, not twice, 3 times. He's studying it 3 times. He's studying the Vedas 3 times. We also know that when something is being told to us or when we read something 3 times, first time when it is said, we might skip it, just ignore it. Okay, Second time something is said in the quick succession, then we might consider it. But third time, if it is said in quick succession, then we have to accept it. So then here it is said, Prabhupada said that just like a scholar, just like all the scholars, Brahmaji, with great attention and concentration of the mind, studied all the Vedas 3 times, and after scrutinizingly examining them, what was his conclusion? Attraction for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the highest perfection of religion. We have heard that in the first canto also. Dharma swanushtita pumsham vishwakshena kathasriya notpadyed yadiratim sham evahi kevalam na utpadyed. So if whatever we do, if the attraction for the message of the personality of Godhead doesn't arise in our heart, sham evahi kevalam. So our purpose should be to hear about Krishna, to know about Krishna, to read about Krishna. And as yesterday in the Sunday feast, Viraj Prabhu very nicely is saying that yes, even when we meet each other, we should be enlightening, comforting, supporting each other by words of Krishna, by glorifying Krishna. So when we see this verse, I thought this verse is a continuation of what is described here in this chapter. So we saw that there is liberation described here, the Kama Mishra Bhakti is described here now. The process of direct devotional service is being described here. So we can see here that the progress of the dialogue is going on nicely. That after describing the position of a jnani and then a yogi, now Sukadeva Goswami is speaking about the devotee, the direct devotional service. That's one part. Second part, if you understand, is that the benefit of devotional service is given. And we have heard the glorification of devotional service many, many times. And as I said, we'll also hear the glories of devotional service in coming chapters, in coming cantos, and until the end of Srimad Bhagavatam. Then the question may arise, why are we not so much inclined towards progress in Bhakti Yoga? Yes, we are progressing, but are we progressing at a fast rate, or are we going at our own slow pace? And that leads us to our anarthas. So then, we have to, we have heard these, speaking about anarthas many, many times. But are we really deeply contemplating on our anarthas? Are we really focusing on, okay, how can I do more and more and more, and then more and more and more devotional service, and then slowly the anarthas also will go away. That there are so many opportunities for devotional service, can I do more and more and more? So when we perform more and more devotional service, there's a beautiful verse where Brahmaji, again, the great authority, it's a part of the prayers before he starts creation. There's a prayers for creative energy. Brahmaji is praying to the Lord. A very, very beautiful verse. How we can progress in our bhakti, and one word is used very, very beautifully. Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavitarit saroja asya shrutekshita patho nanunata pumsham yad dhiyata urgaya vibhavayanti tad vapu pranayase sad anugrahaya. So tvam bhakti yoga paribhavita. The word paribhavita is used here. Hrit saroja. So what Brahmaji is saying, that my Lord, your devotees, and then he starts with, yes, Shutekshita, Asya Shutekshita. He says, your devotees can see you through the ears. Of course, we are doing that. We are knowing Krishna, we are seeing Krishna through our ears by the process of bona fide hearing, which we are doing. We are hearing the words of Sukadeva Goswami, of our acharyas, and of course, ultimately of Srila Prabhupada. In the process, our hearts should become cleansed. The hearts becomes cleansed. And then what happens is that yad dhiyata urugaya vibhavayanti tat vapu pranayase sat anugrahaya. Means Krishna, being very merciful, he takes his seat in our hearts. So when we hear very carefully, we see Brahma is also very carefully and scrutinizingly studying the Vedas. Here also is mentioned paribhavita. Paribhavita means, Prabhupada translates as being 100% engaged. Being 100% engaged. Pari is, the word pari means parikrama, parivar. So the word pari means complete. So when we are 100% engaged in devotional service, our heart becomes cleansed and Krishna takes the seat here. And then by our devotional service, Krishna manifests himself in a particular eternal form in which we always think of Krishna. So this is the benefit Krishna gives here. Now Prabhupada mentions here very beautifully that we have to understand that Krishna is showing his form to us, but not that Krishna is the order supplier. The state of Krishna coming under the control of a devotee, the state of prema, is achieved by the gradual process of development from Shraddha to prema. And of course, for that, the practical services have also to be done, Shrutekshita. So we have to hear, we have to chant, we have to, associate the devotees. Any practical services required at the temple. Yesterday, I was speaking to a devotee and I explained to them that my formula is that everyone should try to do at least 3 services a week. One service is what they like to do. What you like to do, you can do that service a week. One service is what you required by the temple, by the senior devotees, by the situation in the temple. So that one service you can do, you come to the temple and you can see us, there's service going on, can I help you? One service which is required there. Nowadays, because the renovation is going on, every evening, every Saturday evening and Sunday evening, we have to clean the temple properly before we start the program. So you can come half an hour early and say, okay, I can help in cleaning up. So this way, practical services have to be done. And gradually we progress from Shraddha to Prem by hearing and chanting. Even hearing, we know that our scriptures describe that there are 4 types of hearers. We've discussed them before. The one is Chataka bird, one is a swan, one is a parrot, and one is a fish. So what does a Chataka bird do? The Chataka bird, takes the water directly from the rains. It doesn't go to any secondary source. It just takes water straight from the rain, which is purest. So when we are hearing also, we take the purest, whatever is pure. That's why when we hear so many things during our day, the purest form of hearing is this half an hour of Srimad Bhagavatam. Otherwise, everything is completely contaminated. Of course, unless we are hearing, from our Srila Prabhupada, our Acharyas, and from the Parampara. So we hear like a Chataka bird, the purest. Second is a swan. What does a swan do? Swan separates milk and water. Now, don't think that it is just a myth. No, swans actually have the abilities to separate milk and water. So we should, during the day, whatever we hear, we should be able to segregate what is milk, what is beneficial for us, and what is water, what is not beneficial for us. Then the example is given of parrot, Shuka. So parrot is, of course, he's famous for the ability to repeat whatever it learns from its master, right? In the same way, when we hear very carefully, as I said in one of the classes before, that I heard sometime before that Prabhupada introduced this system of reciting the verses by the devotees in Srimad Bhagavatam class, so that after a few recitations, then you might be able to remember this verse. So we can memorize like that. So a parrot hears and then repeats. So this way, we have to repeat and then remember. So the high class listeners, what they do, when they hear attentively, they grasp the subject matter so well, so beautifully, that they will be able to communicate to others in a very clear and understandable manner. Then the last one is a fish, a matsya. So fish also has a unique ability to hear, to hear without even blinking at all. So the great listener, with undivided attention, they hear without blinking, and then this way get the full benefit. So these are the qualities which we have to cultivate as hearers. So when we progress like this, Prabhupada mentions here that yes, this is the path of becoming a pure, unalloyed devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And then Prabhupada says here, and that is the topmost perfection of all religious principles. Yes. So we can go on hearing about Krishna all the time. Keep on hearing about Krishna all the time. Slowly a stage will come when we have heard quite a bit. And then slowly the pride creeps in. Okay, in the beginning of the class, am I going to hear something new, or is the speaker going to just repeat whatever I've heard? So we have this tendency, we develop this tendency that actually I don't have to hear that carefully, that attentively. I already know these things. But again, Brahmaji, in the 10th canto, he is instructing us very beautifully as to what should be the mood of when we hear the glorification of Krishna. The famous verse Brahmaji sings. He says, Jananta eva janantu kim bahuktya name prabho manaso vapuso vacho vaibhavam tva kochara. So Brahmaji says, Jananta eva janantu. He says, persons, he's speaking to Lord Krishna. The Brahma Vimohan Lila is finished, and he's repenting. He's praying to the Lord for his mercy. And just before he leaves, he's just finalizing his prayers, he's finishing his prayers. So he's speaking to Lord Krishna, and he says, there are people who say, Janantu eva janantu. That there are people who say, I know everything about Krishna. But what does Brahmaji say? Let them think that way. As far as I am concerned, I do not wish to speak very much about this matter. Manaso vapuso vacho vaibhavam tava gochara. He says, oh my Lord, let me say this much. Let me say this much. As far as your opulences are concerned, they are all beyond the reach of my mind, body, and words. So Krishna is unlimited. We can go on hearing day in and day out about Krishna, swadu swadu pade pade. So this way, when we hear about Krishna, every day we have to bring from us the childlike excitement, the childlike enthusiasm. Yesterday, when Viraj Krishna Prabhu was making everyone remember and recite these verses without looking, the Chatushloki, Nisarg was very beautifully, without looking at the verse, he just recited the whole verse. And so, you could notice that if you have the childlike enthusiasm, the childlike ability, it's very easy to hear and then repeat in glorification of Krishna again. We can see that we meet people again and again and again. Now, people follow different faiths and religions, different paths, but ultimately, we should be convinced, and then ultimately we should try to convince others that the conclusion, what Sukdev Goswami gives here, is the direct devotional service. The conclusion has to be love of God. The conclusion has to be love of God. Whether Prabhupada used to say, whether you're a Christian, be a good Christian. If you're a Muslim, be a good Muslim. If you're a Jew, be a good Jew. Ultimately, we have to come to a stage of loving God. Now, as I said many times, we are hearing these philosophies, but still we are not progressing that fast. Now, a simple tip I can give, where psychologists claim that many times we have many options in our life on a minute-to-minute basis. We have multitudes of options. But when we constantly hear about something, then certain opportunities stand out, right? They stand out above the rest. There are some key factors. There's some key factors. First one is, if an option is given to adopt seriously and progress very quickly in Bhakti Yoga, it has to be practical. And practical means I can do it. So every one of us should think, yes, I can do it. I can do Bhakti Yoga and I can progress quickly. I can do it means, yes, we don't want to stress too much. We don't want any harmful consequences or without any major change in our life. Second is, it has to be beneficial. I want to do it because I see some logical value in it, because some intrinsic value in this option of Bhakti Yoga, I want to do it. Third, it is probable. I feel confident to do it. Yes, even if I take a process of hearing and chanting, I think I can do it. As we hear the story of Vyasaki Prabhu, Prabhupada asked him to chant, rounds, and he started with one round, and first day he went to 2 rounds, 4 rounds, 16 rounds, and then from then on he chanted 16 rounds ever. So we see people who have gone through this process have successfully experience the benefits of this process. So probably, yes, I feel confident to do it. So if something is practical, something is beneficial, and something is probable, which is like a live option, it's clearly in our interest to invest time and energy into seriously considering it. Fast track your devotional service. If you don't accept anything blindly, don't reject also anything blindly. And this way, Srimad Bhagavatam at the end, the proposals which the spiritual proposals which Srimad Bhagavatam gives, they actually fulfill these criteria. How? By giving a thorough explanation of the Creator, Krishna, the process of creation, and Bhagavatam is now going through the process of how we can actually connect with Krishna and experience a dynamic and tangible life, a dynamic and tangible reciprocation with Krishna. So these practices do not require any major life change, but we can accept it, adopt it, and fast track it. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Any question or comment on this verse? Any reflections anyone want to share? Please unmute yourself. Okay, wonderful. You may all have a wonderful day, devotional day. See you tomorrow at 6:30, Krishna willing. And just keep chanting and hearing and engage yourself as much as possible in hearing and chanting and doing some practical service or book distribution. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Very nice.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for your service.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna,
Prabhuji.
Prabhu. Thank you.